The year is 20 CE, and the Roman Empire is thriving. The emperor and senate take all the credit. But let's be real, Rome wouldn't be this powerful without soldiers like you. And now, you've decided to become one of them. At 18 years old, you leave behind your life as the son of a poor farmer on the outskirts of Rome. No money, no prospect, but the army? That's your way out. Survive 25 years and you'll get 3,000 denarii and land, a chance to go from nobody to somebody. With dreams of riches and glory, you march to the nearest recruitment camp. But what you don't realize yet, you just signed up for the hardest, most brutal life imaginable. And before you even get the chance to hold a sword, you have to prove you're worth it. First, you'd better be at least 5 feet and 7, but the taller, the better. Too short, weak, or thin, you're out. Your chest needs to be broad, your arms strong, and your teeth in perfect condition. Because if you can't bite through rock-hard rations, you're useless. Criminal record? Runaway slave? Any deformities? Don't even bother trying. That is, unless you have forged papers. Not a Roman citizen? Forget the legion. You'll be shoved into the auxiliary troops. Less pay, fewer rights, and first in line to die. But let's say you make it past the first filter. Now comes the real humiliation. You're stripped naked while recruiters inspect every inch of your body for scars, diseases, or hidden weaknesses. Then they interrogate you. Why do you want to join? Hesitate for even a second? They'll mock you like a coward. If you somehow survive all that, there's one last step. You must swear the sacramentum, an oath binding you to obey orders, never abandon your post, and stay loyal to the emperor until death. And if you break it, execution. Welcome to the Roman army. Congratulations, you've officially joined the Roman army. You'd think risking your life for Rome would come with a decent paycheck. Wrong. Your base salary? 220 fine denarii per year, later raised to 300 under Emperor Domitian. In modern terms, $3,000 to $5,000 per year, barely enough to survive. If you were an auxiliary soldier, a non-citizen soldier, you'd get even less. But lucky you are a citizen. But don't get excited about that paycheck. It disappears before you even touch it. First, you have to pay for your own gear. We'll discuss that in a bit. Food, and even your uniform. Damage your armor or weapons, cover the cost. And if you want a promotion or better treatment, bribes. No money, no favor. So, what exactly are you paying for? Let's break it down. First, your gladius, an 18 to 24-inch short sword. No fancy slashing. That's for barbarian. This blade is designed for stabbing. Why? Because stabbing is deadlier. Soldiers call it the can opener, because it slips right through armor gaps. Next, your pila. You get 2 of these javelins. They're not ordinary spears. Once thrown, they bend on impact, making enemy shields useless. If one sticks, the enemy has to drop their shield and fight unprotected. For defense, you carry a scutum, a giant curved shield, 4 feet tall, covering most of your body. It's strong enough to withstand axe blows, sword strikes, and even arrows. Then your backup weapon, the pugio, a small dagger, but in a life or death situation, it's all you have left. Lose your gladius? Get trapped in close quarters? This is your last hope. Need proof? Julius Caesar was stabbed 23 times with one of these. Now for protection. You're issued lorica segmentata, the famous segmented plate armor. Strong, flexible, and far better than chainmail. Your Gallia helmet shields your head while still allowing full vision and movement with cheek guards to protect your face. And then there's your caligae, military sandals instead of boots. The soles are studded with nails for better grip on rough terrain. They also have another use, stomping on fallen enemy. Fun fact, the insane Emperor Caligula got his nickname from these because, as a child, he wore a tiny pair while traveling with his father's army. But weapons and armor aren't all you carry. You're also given tools, a saw, spade, pickaxe, and basket, because when you're not fighting, you're building camp. Everything is packed into your sarcina, your military backpack, which holds everything a soldier needs to survive. You've signed up, received your gear, and been handed 3 gold coin, your viaticum, the small bonus meant to get you started. But don't get too comfortable. You're about to endure the worst months of your life. Roman military training isn't just tough, it's designed to break you. First, the marches. You're expected to cover 30,000 Roman paces a day, about 36 kilometers, while carrying your full gear. Just your gladius, scutum, and 2 pila alone weigh over 20 kilograms. Add your sarcina, and it feels like you're dragging half a battlefield on your back. If you fall behind, you get beaten or put on half ration. There's no mercy. You march like this for weeks until your legs move on autopilot. Then you learn how to kill efficiently. You train with wooden swords and shields, twice as heavy as the real thing. The idea? If you can fight with these, real weapons will feel like feathers in battle. You spend hours stabbing training dummies over and over until your arms feel like they're about to fall off. Forget wild swings like a barbarian. You're taught precision. Every thrust of your gladius is aimed straight at the gut or throat. Quick, efficient, deadly. Next, your body is pushed past its limit. Running, swimming, carrying heavy packs, sparring, every single day. If you collapse, you don't just get yelled at, you're publicly humiliated. Some recruits are even forced to carry bags of rocks as punishment. But the worst part isn't the physical exhaustion, it's the psychological warfare. Veteran soldiers mock you, bully you, and break you down to toughen you up. Officers stage fake enemy attacks at night, forcing you to wake up, grab your weapons, and prepare to fight again and again. Sleep deprivation? That's just part of the process. By the time training ends, you're not just a soldier, you're a war machine. And in the Roman army, that's exactly how you fight, as part of a cold, disciplined, and ruthlessly efficient war machine. First, you learn the testudo formation, your best defense. You and your fellow soldiers lock shields together in front, while the top row covers overhead. Arrows and projectiles? Completely useless. It's perfect for sieges and advancing under heavy fire. The downside? It's slow, and if the formation breaks, you're completely exposed. Fun fact, some modern riot police units still use formations inspired by this. Then there's the relentless shield wall. No reckless charges, no disorganized battle. You fight in tight formations, making the army almost impossible to break. And as soldiers get tired, fresh ones take their place immediately, keeping the front line at full strength. You survive training. You've been broken down, rebuilt, and forged into a soldier. But now, you enter the next phase of your life, the camp. Your new home isn't just a cluster of tents, it's a Roman military camp, an organized, heavily fortified war machine, a miniature city designed for discipline, survival, and war. And every night, exhausted or not, you're digging trenches and building wooden palisades to protect it. There's no rest. Inside, everything has a purpose. Principia, the headquarters, where officers bark orders, discipline is law, and hesitation means punishment. Horia, the granary, storing your food, mostly grain because fresh meals are a luxury. Thermae, the bathhouse, because Romans will bathe even in the middle of war. And your tent? Welcome to the Contubernium, home to 8 men, crammed onto straw mats, breathing each other's sweat and snoring through sleepless nights. Privacy? Forget it. Comfort? Forget it. Your day starts before sunrise, with a deafening blast from the cornicin, the trumpeter. No beds, no blanket, just a hard straw mat or the bare ground. You roll up, stiff and sore, because comfort isn't part of a soldier's life. First task, cleaning your weapons and armor, every single day. Miss a spot, your centurion will make sure you regret it. Breakfast, a bowl of porridge. Maybe some bread dipped in watered-down vinegar, pasca, a sour stomach-turning drink that's supposed to keep you hydrated. Meat? Forget it. You only get that before battle, or if an animal drops dead. If you're lucky, you might get some cheese, dried fruit, or a handful of nuts. Then comes the real suffering, drills that never end. Even in peacetime, you train like you're at war. Formation drill, locking shields, perfecting the testudo, marching, at least 20 miles per day in full gear. No exception. Sword drills, stabbing dummies for hours until your arms feel like they'll fall off. And when you're done with that, construction duty. Because a Roman soldier isn't just a fighter, he's a builder. You dig ditches, set up walls, build forts, roads, and bridges. No task is beneath you. Fun fact, Spartacus, the famous gladiator, he was once a Roman soldier. He deserted because he was sick of the endless training. When you're not training or on guard duty, you kill boredom however you can. First, gambling. Soldiers bet their salaries, ration, even their weapons on dice, tesserae, and board game. Lose it all? That's when the drunken brawls start. Drinking is next. You and your fellow soldiers down pasca, sour wine mixed with water, safer than actual water. But when real wine enters the mix, things get violent. Some officers even ban alcohol just to keep the chaos under control. And when gambling and drinking aren't enough, you fight. Bare-knuckle brawls are normal. Injuries? Just part of camp life. Some officers even organize mock gladiator fights between soldiers to keep them entertained. But when the games end, reality sets in. There's no roaring crowd, no cheers. Just exhaustion, hunger, and the constant fear of dying in some foreign land. The stories of Roman conquest never mention this. The exhaustion, the hunger, the disease, the constant fear of dying. And if you survive, you're never the same. You're from Italia, but your brothers in arms hail from the scorching deserts of Syria, the misty highlands of Britannia, and the rugged coasts of Hispania. Different land, different tongue, but none of that matters now. Here, in the Legion, you share the same hunger, the same aching feet, the same unspoken fears. Your Legion, along with 3 others, is under the command of some imperial nephew, just another noble who got his position through blood, not battlefield experience. You try not to think about it. Each Legion holds nearly 5,000 men, divided into cohorts of 500, and further broken down into centuries of around 80 to 100 men. At the head of each century stands a centurion, the backbone of discipline, ready to bark orders and hand out punishments. Leading the entire legion is the Aquilifer, the eagle bearer, marching at the front with the legion's sacred standard. Losing it in battle? Unthinkable. The march never ends. For weeks, sometimes months, you trudge forward, step after step, shield to shield. The centurion's voice drills into your bones, right, left, but the march is just the beginning. Then one day, The marching stops. The enemy is near. You stand shoulder to shoulder, sweat dripping down your back, stomach twisting into knots. Some men whisper prayers. Others shake. A few vomit. The order is coming. You can feel it. Run, not an option. Deserters are cut down where they stand. Fight or you die. When the battle began, you didn't just charge. You and your unit moved as one. A human battering ram, shields locked tight, every step drilled into muscle memory. The first attack? A storm of javelin, whistling through the air, hammering into enemy line. Then came the real horror. Gladius stabbing. Quick, brutal, efficient. No wild swing. No wasted movement. Just rapid thrusts to the gut and throat. The battlefield smelled worse than a latrine. Blood, sweat, and human waste thick in the air. The heat was suffocating, your armor turning into a furnace as dying men screamed and thrashed in the dirt. Get stabbed in the gut? You were done. Roman medics couldn't fix internal bleeding. Lose a limb? No painkillers. Just red-hot iron searing flesh to stop the bleeding. Collapse? Your own comrades trampled you to death, too focused on survival to care. Some tried playing dead, only to be finished off by looters searching for valuables. And if you survived, the nightmare didn't end when the fighting stopped. The battlefield became a rotting graveyard. Stripping corpses of armor was part of your duty. Your fallen comrades were carried away, but enemy bodies were left to rot, picked apart by scavengers. The stench of death clung to the air for weeks. Carrion birds and wild dogs feasted on the fallen, including Roman. If you were lucky, you scavenged weapons and coins from the dead. If not, officers took everything, leaving you with scraps. The defeated, they weren't given mercy. Surviving enemies were rounded up and sold as slaves, sometimes right there on the battlefield. Even if you survived battle, you were never the same. No one had a name for it, but you carried the scars long after the fighting stopped. Some of your comrades lashed out in sudden bursts of rage. Others drowned their memories in endless cups of wine. You, maybe you just stopped feeling altogether, numb to suffering, indifferent to life itself. If you fought against the Germanic or Celtic tribes, the nightmares never left you. You flinch at shadows, haunted by memories of comrades being skinned alive or sacrificed by druid. Some veterans like you couldn't return to normal life. They took up mercenary work, became criminals, or simply walked into the wilderness, never to be seen again. But the worst fate? Getting captured. If the enemy took you alive, your life was no longer your own. You could be sold into slavery, chained until your body gave out from backbreaking labor, or worse, thrown into the gladiator pits, where you fought wild beasts and trained killers for the amusement of strangers. And some enemies didn't take prisoners at all. You've heard the story. Druids burning Roman captives alive inside massive wicker men. Germanic warriors flaying officers, stretching their skin into war drum. Even if you somehow escaped and made it back to Rome, there was no welcome waiting for you. Because in Rome, getting captured meant one thing: execution for cowardice. But somehow, you made it. 25 years of blood, sweat, and suffering. You've survived the battles, the beatings, the brutal training, and the endless marching. Now, at last, you're discharged, a free man. But don't celebrate just yet. Retirement isn't as glorious as it sounds. Your reward? 3,000 denarii, about 10 years worth of pay, or maybe a plot of land. Sounds great, right? Well, not so fast. If the treasury is running low, expect corruption or outright fraud. Many veterans never see their full pension. Some are even forced to bribe officials just to get what they were promised. At least you get your Diploma Militari, a bronze tablet proving you served Rome with honor. It's your ticket to a new life. And best of all, no more orders. No more beating. No more waking up before sunrise to march 20 miles in full armor. But here's the problem. What now? You've spent 25 years killing, obeying, and surviving. You've only known war, discipline, and hardship. Civilian life? That's a battle you were never trained for. So what do? Some veterans settle down, build farms, and try to live a quiet life. Others, unable to escape the battlefield in their mind, turn to mercenary work, fighting for foreign king, old enemies, or anyone who can pay. A few drown their demons in wine, wasting away in the back alleys of Rome. And then there are those who just can't stop marching. They drift from town to town, lost without a purpose, waiting for a fight that never comes. You were once part of something greater, part of the machine that conquered the world. Now, you're just another man in the streets, watching younger soldiers march past, hearing the centurion's voice bark commands that no longer apply to you. In the end, Rome forgets. The empire moves on, with or without you. And after 25 years of blood and sacrifice, you're left with one final question. What was it all for?